I was oppressed by an evil spirit and all this stuff. I know every little bump in the road along the way has helped me develop my abilities and also become spiritually stronger, and my faith is stronger to actually be where I am at this level, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and so forth. So, just got to keep, we're never going to learn everything. So every little experience that we can have and then light into the world with those experiences, I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Hello, everybody that is joining us in chat. I appreciate you joining us. Gayleen, nice to see you. Robin, nice to see you too. Hey, Kathy, nice to have you with us. I'm just going to give everybody a little shout out real quick before we get too far in this. Usually once the show gets going, there's so many comments, it's hard to keep up. Hey, Maggie, nice to see you. Pat, good to see you too. And Chasey, George says 1 minute till showtime, quiet on the set. Well, George says he is in traffic, so I hope that we can entertain you. And, well, I don't even want to say entertain you because, well, I guess for people in the paranormal, I guess this stuff is not as entertaining as,
we're never going to learn everything, so every little experience that we can
kind
have
of crave this kind
with
of
experiences. I think that's what's
this kind of topics out here in the field, because again, there's not too many people who can say they actually, number one, have ever encountered a demonic spirit, much less to Robin, claim that they've been possessed. Nor, and the third, do you find out that they're paranormal investigators and that they have, abilities. Give everybody a little shout out. So again, you kind of have all of these. I mean, you have a lot of one-on-one direct contact gets going. There's so many comments. The darker side. I mean, hey, Maggie, nice to see you. Pat, good to see you too. And Chasey.
I do believe that these things know specific souls that are going to step in their way.
George says he is in traffic,
so I hope that we can light on their dark asses, so to speak.
I don't even want to say entertain you, because
it's kind of like what happened in my book too. Because 3 years before I got involved,
people in the paranormal, I guess this stuff
stories in my book is that I was living in a house with a bunch of roommates and everything. So every house and a home, little up north, Westchester, New York, and she never told me this story until I started posting things on Facebook about paranormal. I started investigating, going out and started taking pictures and getting excited about the stuff because I realized it was real. But she decided to message me, and she's like, I never wanted to say anything because I thought you would have thought I was crazy. But one night she came over to hang out, and she pulled up to her car, and she said that she saw this black hooded thing with a white face and black eyes, and it was staring into my window, and it turned its face and disappeared. She said it was the scariest thing that she'd ever seen in her entire life. And to me, now looking back at that, it's just one of those things, is that these things kind of knew that I was about to be starting to get involved with the work and what, where I am at with it now, currently. Little synchronicities that end up making sense. Even in the beginning of my book, when I was a child, I remember something that popped into my head when I was thinking back to everything when I was writing my book. We had a house out in Long Island. It was near West Hampton, and we lived by the bay. And I remember, I must have been 8 years old or something like that. And I was running in between the houses, and they had this tall, old grass. And I was at a friend's house in this long road that leads to the bay. And I just remember looking in my peripheral vision and seeing this book. And I went and picked it up, and it was like a satanic book, and it was burnt on the edges. And I just had this terrible, freaky feeling, and I threw it down and went home. I was crying like a little kid would. And just one of those things too. I think back to these little omens that took place that would actually end up leading to me where I am today, because I never thought I'd be involved in the paranormal. I loved horror movies as a kid. I was obsessed with them. But, I believed in ghosts as I got older into my 20s, but never did I think I'd be this involved with it. And it was like a meteor out of the sky. It's like kaboom. I mean, music was my passion. I mean, now this kind of took the front, but, those are my two passions, being able to create, write music, and also the connection to spirituality and music is so identical. I mean, they go hand in hand. I love all my experiences, and I love being a true spiritual person. It changes you overall as a person, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. Just being aware of how you affect people negatively and positively, and wanting to really accomplish and be a good person and do something for your fellow man with all the individual gifts that God gives any of us. And it doesn't have to be just a paranormal spiritual gift. It could be in any corner or any aspect of life that, we're good at, whether you're saving lives, being a cop or a fireman, or, helping children, whatever it may be. Good is a universal thing that could be so many diversified things. And that's what God represents and what we want to represent and be more like God, idealistically, I believe.
Absolutely. Francis, nice to have you with us. Oh, I'm getting some feedback here. Hold on just a second. So for everybody who's been listening, Sean's been talking a little bit about the book he wrote, and I definitely want to talk a little bit about this. The name of the book is Shadow Chaser. And this is kind of, well, not kind of, it is a book really kind of retracing the steps, along Sean's journey through and into the paranormal, and this where it's taken him. So, I'm really, really interested in checking it out. I mean, again, I've known you for so long. I mean, we had a connection. I was mentoring you for a while. I mean, so many of the things that I foresaw for you, that was so funny that you didn't believe it back then, all started to kind of kickstart and start happening. Boy, once those flood doors open, you were really flooded out. But we do have a nice announcement tonight. Sean was nice enough. We are going to pick a lucky listener tonight. And that lucky listener is going to receive a autographed copy from Sean himself of his book. And again, once you get it, we'd love to hear what you think of the book, because I know it's going to be awesome. Tell us about, for people who don't know you, Sean, tell us some of the experiences or the most terrifying experiences that you've had along your journey.
Well, I'll tell you kind of like the trigger, which I talk about all the time. I think we all have a trigger into the paranormal that really just like sparks our interest or makes us get involved somehow with it, where we're dealing with it of some sort. But the reason why I got involved with the paranormal, how it started, was there was a friend of mine who very skeptical. I always make this joke that I literally think if he levitated off the floor, he'd probably send himself to the hospital. Like, that's how skeptical he is. But I wanted to bring him to a local cemetery that had some sort of lore of stories of it being haunted. And there was a local cemetery close nearby where 3 women in white would chase you out of a cemetery. And I decided to bring him there with another buddy of mine. And we went there, we were walking around, and it was just before smartphones came out. So I still had a flip phone, but those older phones, they had really crappy recordings on it, which is really good for EVPs. But I mean, at the time,
right.
I recorded with my audio. I'll never forget, I was in front of this little girl's grave, and her name was like Jenny. And I was just like, Jenny, are you still here? And I thought I heard like a voice, but I was walking around recording, asking questions. My friend's laughing, thinks it's silly. Not until the next evening, like I went there. I didn't go there. I woke late at night. I went over my recordings on my phone. And like when I went back to listen to little girl Jenny, she responded in a little child's voice. And it's just like that defining moment when you actually hear your first disembodied voice and confirmation. I'm like, holy crap, chills.
Right.
Like, I'm terrified, I'm freaked out, but I'm excited. And then I went over some more of the recordings, and I would hear like muerto, which is like death in Spanish. And I'll never forget, right. Is there anyone, who wants to say something to this man that doesn't believe in ghosts? And I'll never forget this recording of this woman go, I know of a little girl to the right of my bed standing on the floor. And I just freaked and yelped out like a dying sea. I'm like, what the frick?
Right.
Disappeared. That was my first actual seeing something like that. And then it progressed from there. I started going out and investigating places and increasing my experiences with how much I started acknowledging it, engaging the realm, and also being so open to the paranormal that I do believe that you'll receive more, because I'm a firm believer in law of attraction, the way you actually think. And now you're open to that. You become like a child again. And what I mean like a child is that you're fresh from the spirit realm. So our natural psychic abilities are all around your physical body. And these spirits are gravitated towards that light because they know that they can communicate with you and have the best chance to feel, hear, see, or get their message across to you in any way that they, your aura, I believe, like they do children, because they know that you're open to them, they're receptive to you. And in the process, I was also, triggering my abilities that I believe that I was dormant within me the entire time. Because I used to have dreams about people's faces that I never saw before, but I thought maybe my mind was just making it up. But now looking back, and I think it was there the entire time, but not until I literally focused on that. It's never a dull moment. Yeah. My times when I dealt with dark entities, with the things that were going on during that time period in my book. But one moment I always thought that should be such a perfect little scene in a movie, how creepy it is. But I had a lucid vision where I was walking away from my bed and I was walking to the bathroom, and I walked into the bathroom, never turned the lights on. I just looked up in the mirror. And as soon as I looked up in the mirror, I just felt something like take my face and throw it right up against the mirror. And as soon as my face hit the mirror, my entire body in bed went into sleep paralysis. And I just heard this female animalistic voice that just echoed within my head and went, "I see you," like that. And then I woke up and had the chills. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I was in my shower. I had a shaving mirror at the time. And I'm like washing off, and I look at the mirror, and it started to form. It just was like ISEE with a big U on the bottom of my mirror. And it's just like one of those.
Are happening. Mm-hmm. He is not kidding you. Like literally, I would talk to him pretty much daily, and he would be sending me this. What do you think about this? Oh, this happened. What do you think about this? And I mean, things were happening like on a daily basis, and it is true. I mean, as much as you were scared, you also kind of had that excitement as well. Because I can remember telling you, like, don't be trying to get EVPs in your apartment. Like, stop, like, investigating in your apartment.
I didn't know what I was freaking doing at the time. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a lot of. That's why I tell people, I'm like, hey, don't be doing EVPs in your house. And I was doing that because I had a spirit.
Yeah, because. You wanted to, because you kept saying, I mean, I want them to interact with me. Like, this is the whole point. Like, I want them. And I'm like, be careful what you ask for, because you never know what you're going to get. But again, I think that for a lot of people, it's trial and error. And for us that have abilities, it's even more dangerous.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing that happened to me in the process. I'll never forget, like, this hooded thing came to me, and I could see it over my body, and it was choking me, and it was just going, "The transformation." And like, I didn't really realize at the time what that meant, but now I do look back at that. And in my opinion, he knew I was going through a spiritual awakening, and he knew that I was susceptible to their attacks, and they were trying to induce fear in that process. That's just one of those things. And that's why it also led to me to being oppressed too, because, going through that whole experience, and I was susceptible going to dark places and not being fully aware and protected, and having, the methods to really protect yourself and have the best chance to be safe. But, again, it's a learning process.
Right. And again, you were new in this and you were excited. And I remember too, you said, "Oh, I've got you had like what you're saying, Benedict. Like, you can't like just partially, because that's going to be dangerous." And I'm glad, that through all this, you came out through the, okay on the other side, because a lot of people don't. And I will tell you, for anybody, and especially myself, when you have abilities and you get an attachment, or you have encountering a possession or an oppression, it is something that changes you forever. Oh, yeah. And so, you're warned about demonic activity on television. Do you think that it is increasing people's attention and interest to the dark side?
Oh, and
very true.
The demonic stuff, it just goes right in there with all the other stuff. I mean, yeah. And, we're acknowledging that stuff, and these things know that, and they know that kids are going to mess around and be ignorant and possibly open up doorways for them to manifest and create chaos in as many human beings as they possibly can manipulate towards them. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. And that's why it's, like I said, I've talked about this with you before for many years. You know, whether you like it or not, the paranormal field part of it is dangerous too, because you have a lot of kids that'll just follow the lead, and just stuff. That's really dangerous. It's not a amusement park. It really is something that's very delicate. And anyone I tell, hey, I don't want to judge anyone and say don't get involved, because I was that same person. So I put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, look, okay, if you decide to get involved, read books that are informative, that'll help you. Like I read, like, you know, as soon as I started having experiences, I read The Demonologist, Ed and Lorraine Moore. It's such an easy, informative book, and you can read about the extreme cases they went through and learn the stages of the demonic and the types of activity and manifestations that all these different types of spirits can do: residual hauntings, intelligent hauntings, poltergeists, and so forth. And really learn and find a true faith foundation, because that's one thing that's really going to protect you. You know, we take risks as investigators. There's no guarantees. I mean, I have things mess with me on and off anyways. Like, I mean, I I always say I have a super soaker filled with holy water next to my bed, but I mean, I have holy water bottles everywhere. I'm like, it's you know, I guess it's a good and a bad problem.
It is, and that's why when, you know, people are talking to people with abilities, they say, oh, that's so amazing. And people to me all the time, they say, I so wish that, you know, I could see spirits. They'll say, oh, I can feel them, or, you know, I can hear them. I just wish I could see them. And I said, really? You might want to rethink that, because it's not a flip, you know, of a switch, and, you know, you can just turn it back off. Once you're open like that, as you said, it's 24 hours a day. It's all the time. That you don't have, if you're not feeling good, they don't care. They've got messages, they need help. You're gonna be where they go towards.
That's when they'll communicate with you even more so, is when you're psychologically exhausted, because you have to understand of, you know, what's happening when you're actually tired, is that your meditative consciousness actually comes to the forefront of your mind. So even if you're awake, when I'm like really exhausted, I have no sleep, I am like hearing like echoings of voices and all sorts of stuff, like, and I'm just feeling crazy. It's very overwhelming. I've definitely had a few moments along the way where I was just like, what did I get myself involved with?
My biggest thing for it was, and people don't think about this, but again, I'd be going to the bathroom, taking a shower, look up, and you've got, you know, a gallery watching you, right? You know, no privacy. You might be in, you know, bed with your significant other, you know, and having sex, and then all of a sudden you look over the shoulder, and it's like you've got a whole audience, as if you're making some paranormal porn. You know, it's just, it's not all that it's wrapped up to be. You know, it's one of those things that, again, you can't turn it off. And the other thing is, not everything is pleasant looking. I don't want to know why people think that everything is just going to look like Casper the Ghost, or, you know, something that you see. No, it's more like 13 Ghosts and shit like that sometimes.
And worse.
I've encountered things that have just popped up out of nowhere and scared the absolute hell out of me. I've had actual human spirits that have just recently, you know, passed, that may have been like in a tragic or traumatic, you know, injury, a motorcycle accident, car accident, you know, different things like that, and come to me and still look, you know, the way they did with all of the damage. So yeah, it's not always pleasant to see, for sure.
But it's life in general too. It's like, you have to understand, it's like there's good and bad parts of the world. There's some serious evil shit going on in the world always. It's kind of like Billy said, we didn't start the fire because it was always burning when the world was turning. It really is the case, really. I mean, there's, you know, so when it comes to the spiritual realm, it's the same idea. There's just good and bad to every little, you know, nook and cranny of what we deal with in every dimension that's around us, that we can see or not.
Absolutely. Let's see what we got. Hey, Nikki, nice to see you. Thanks. Nikki says that she can hear them and sometimes see them. So yeah, definitely. And once you're already seeing that, it's just a matter of time before it strengthens and you'll be seeing a lot more. Let's see. Pat says, I had no books in the late 1960s and pulled some real boners. Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm with you, Pat, because there wasn't really any really good books in the library per se about any of this. Really, the only thing you could find was like stuff about satanic stuff and witchcraft. There was plenty of books on those, but psychic abilities or, you know, paranormal or anything that could define what was going on. Because I swear, like reading witchcraft books, I thought like, okay, maybe I was a witch for a while. I didn't know. I mean, but I'm like, well, I don't fit all the the checklist off, so maybe not, you know. And I wasn't interested in doing spells, so I'm like, okay, well, maybe not. I definitely did not want to be considered a psychic, because back then that was like Miss Cleo, and you know, read the crystal ball and tell you got demons and take all your money. So, you know, there really wasn't too much that you could, you know, claim like what category did we really, you know, fit in. So that's it. So funny. All right. Galen says, do vortexes have guardians that keep negative guys out, or are vortexes neutral? Are there rules to them? And are there positive beings that come through areas?
I've heard some people that actually have beliefs about these guardians. That's something that I think we can only speculate about. I think that these vortexes and doorways are dependent on a lot of circumstances and situations, again, that we can only wonder about. But we do know that spirits come through portals and vortexes all over the place. And obviously, it seems like to me, with my experience, that when there's dark stuff that has happened in a place, there'll be other spirits, dark spirits that I've dealt with, that'll come through specifically in those types of locations. It's like they have a doorway to come through with the darkness that's already there. It's almost like a doorway that they can get through that lower vibrational vortex or portal that's happening because of the type of energy it is. So I think it's kind of based on some sort of energy or frequency that certain spirits emit that bases the type of spirits that come through the different vortexes and portals in different locations. I mean, that's something that I'm just assuming and having a theoretical approach about it. But again, we're only speculating, but, you know, we base this on a lot of experiences. We go to some of the locations, you think that and believe that there's a portal. When there's a portal vortex there, I mean, you walk around and you feel like your equilibrium is off.
You can feel them for sure.
Like backwards, like, you know, on your side. It's really makes you feel dizzy. It's a really strange feeling. And that's usually what you'll feel if that is there.
And I'm kind of right with you on the whole vortex thing. I mean, I have known of many cases, especially that myself and our team has done, as well as other teams have done, where vortexes have been involved and some pretty negative things have come through, you know. And I've done investigations where there's been a mixture. There's been some positive, spirits that come through and some negative ones there. And it's like, oh, they can kind of capture all of them in there and not let them leave. And I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios. So as far as guardians, like protecting from anything negative coming through, I don't know that, again, that would have to be speculation.
It doesn't really make sense to me, because it seems like they're just able to come through because, like I said, I've been to so many different places that have dark stuff, and then I get specific entities that I've encountered before coming through on these locations that could be out of state, that's coming through like from places around here. And
right.
I think it's based on energy, frequency, and like you said, like, you know, you get some good and bad, like positive and evil. I think that's what's happening is that if it's a lower vibrational vortex or portal, the positive energy is higher vibrational. So if they choose to come through those doorways and portals to communicate with us, they're automatically have the permission to do so because it's already a lower vibrational. If it's a higher vibrational frequency than they are, they might not be able to do so. But if you're going lower, obviously they can probably do that. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. Now we're getting another one from Google Plus. Google Plus. And this is from Lorraine. She is asking, what are your thoughts on Ouija boards? Can something very negative come through those if you're opening a doorway?
I mean, obviously, I always say all the time, I don't like to judge anyone what they do. I mean, I know people that out there, I mean, that I even know that mess around with Ouija boards. Do I think not mess around with Ouija boards? Absolutely not. I mean, firsthand experience myself, I got oppressed with an evil spirit after messing with it. I call the Ouija board like spiritual Russian roulette. You just don't know what you're going to get. You could play with one time or 100 times, and at one moment, it could be the worst mistake that you ever made. And I know some people always ask, so what's the difference between like the spirit box and the Ouija board? Isn't it the same thing? And my opinion about these two things are the Ouija board and what are they called? Dowsing rods. My opinion is that those two things are more dangerous is because we are holding and touching an item to ask to move with us. And I feel like that's some sort of inadvertent channeling. And to me, that's different than just holding a box and say, talk through this, because you want the planchette to move with your hand and you're holding the dowsing rods and you want it to move with you. And to me, it might be some sort of inadvertent channeling, because I've heard of stories of people getting possessed over dowsing rods and the Ouija boards, but I've never heard about anyone getting possessed over a spirit box. So
interesting.
I mean, that's my opinion. That's going to be the thing that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. And I'm with you, because I had a bad experience with the Ouija board, and I never had a fear of it. I mean, back when I was growing up, we actually, just about everybody I knew, their parents had a Ouija board in their board game closet. You know, it was just something that people thought was a game and they would play with it. But because I could really see spirits and interact with them, I didn't need a Ouija board to connect. So I never had the want or necessity to use it until I tried to make friends and did it and ended up with an attachment. So I had a really bad experience, which, again, like you said, I know people who have used them all the time. And I do say Ouija boards, pendulums, any of those things, they are all tools. So again, if they're just a tool, it's how you use them. And if you don't know, how to use them correctly, and again, especially with the Ouija board, you are opening and inviting communication. And you cannot guarantee that who you're wanting to come forward or come through is going to be the person it is. You're opening a doorway, and again, anything can come. I've seen where people have been convinced that it is their loved one, and it absolutely is not. It is something really dark, and it's just reading the person's mind of, who they want to connect with, and things that would, that they would know that nobody else would know, things like that. So I think it could be very manipulated. Either way, like you said, you could have 1,000, times using a tool and never have anything bad happen, but it only takes one time for it to completely change your life.
And that's where you ask the question, is it really worth it? That's up to the individual.
Yeah.
Well, I learned, but I'm luckier than other people might not be able to handle, because, oppression, it ain't no walk in the freaking park. I could never kill myself, but it crossed my mind. It was bad. I could,
oh, yeah.
But they'll push you right to the edge until you literally make that last free will choice to take the jump or not, or want to harm somebody that you care about. So, yeah. It's
and that's a difference on if you can pull yourself back from that, and you can realize that. And that was the turning point for me, was realizing that these things can manipulate and push you to the brink, where you're about to have a psychotic break, you want to commit suicide, you want to jump, whatever it is, but you have the ultimate control over it all on what you will do, because it can't take your life. It can only convince you to take it. Right. But I'll tell you, it's pretty powerful when it's got its grips, because it'll have you thinking about doing things that you would never in your right mind ever even consider.
Well, it's amplifying any emotion a human being can have that's negative, to the point where it's literally the most extreme possibility of that emotion, to the point where it's unbearable. And it doesn't go away. And if you don't recognize it, that it's coming from a third person perspective, and not be objective about those emotions, that thing's going to be able to victimize you and get more energy and project onto you telepathically more of those emotions that's blowing up in your mind, worse and worse and worse, until you do make that decision, or hopefully, get it blessed or release whatever is attached to you.
Absolutely. All right, we got some questions here from chat. Robin says, I have a question for Sean. Can dark spirits sometimes already know that you're coming when you're going to investigate?
I bring this up all the time. Absolutely, 100%. I always make this metaphor of imagine a school of fish, and one fish is wounded, and they're swimming through the ocean, and they start to swim in an area where there's a shark. Now, out of this school of fish, which fish is the shark going to go up to want to attack? And that's the wounded fish. And the sharks can actually sense. That's why, like they say, like when people are actually swimming the ocean, when they're flapping in the ocean, it imitates the sound and the frequency of injured fish. And what it signals to them is that they could victimize you, your prey. And this is, to me, a perfect analogy of what a demonic or evil entity will do to you. When you go into a haunted place and there's like 10, 12 of you, a dozen, whatever it may be, and they know the person that has the history of abuse or drug use, whatever dark crap that they can bring up and use against you and victimize you spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, and so forth, they're going to go to you. They know that you're the best victim, and they're tapping into your past and time periods in your life and knowing that they're going to have a good chance to prey on you and get energy from you in the biggest fashion they can. So absolutely, without a doubt, a gazillion %. Yes, they do.
And have you got, I mean, I know me and my team have you gotten clients in the past where you're ready to go and do the investigation or come and do the cleansing or whatever you're going to do, and right before the client calls you and they're like, either they're sick or some emergency comes up or their child gets sick, something happens where they want to cancel you coming, and they say, oh, it's just something's going on right now, but we'll reschedule. I mean, have you got that before?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, once you step in the way of evil spirits, you're always a target for the rest of your life. And yes, when you're trying to felicitate help for people, I mean, they will try to manipulate the situation in their favor to delay the help coming from them so they can suck as much energy from the human beings in the household or the location from the people, and continue the victimizing. So yeah, absolutely. They will stop at nothing to prevent you from helping anyone.
Gotcha. And thank you everybody for all the questions tonight. You guys are sending quite a few in. Nikki says, I don't mind Ouija boards. It's all about intention and communication with the dead. And again, I'm like Sean, to each their own. It's just that once you do have, a bad experience, it usually changes you forever, and you no longer want to use one. But Nikki also says, I've gotten partially possessed by an app. Is it possible for someone to get fully possessed with an ITC app?
No.
Okay.
You have to understand, any method that we gauge the spirit realm, we are taking a risk. I mean, things can happen because you're acknowledging, but specifically from an app, I mean, I don't think so. Can it lead to it? I mean, you could do that for just recording audio in your house and constantly communicating.
Right.
So, I mean, like, is that something? I mean, no, but you have to understand, like, the books that I read when I first involved myself in the paranormal, and I was wondering about demonic hauntings, like, they said in these books, like, 95% of the demonic possessions that took place started with a Ouija board. And if the statistics are speaking any truth, it makes a lot of sense. And that's why, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time using something like that, that's why, that's what these possessions can actually become so extreme. If you really think about it, the most famous exorcism in the history of the world, which was based on the movie The Exorcist, happened to a little boy, and that was based on him playing the Ouija board with his aunt. If you know the story in St. Louis.
Right.
His aunt would come over. She was a spiritualist, and she'd play with the Ouija board constantly with the kid, back and forth. The kid loves it. He's young. And then she passes away, and then he whips out the Ouija board, and he starts playing with it. And then, like you were mentioning before, how this spirit was telling him that it was his aunt, and he was, giving him information that only he could have known. Oh, this has to be my aunt. And because
right.
All of a sudden, the communication just stopped. And you want to know why it just stopped? Because Now I have the permission. Now the stages are going to occur. I don't have to talk to you anymore. It's now the infestation, and then the psychological breakdown, the oppression, and ultimately the possession, what ends up being the most iconic exorcism that may have taken place in the country, besides a few others. But that speaks, waves to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Hey, Alan, nice to see you. Alan says, hey, Christina, great show tonight. When we called you the other night, what you said really helped the family. We will be returning for cleansing very soon. Think so. Oh, well, I'm glad that it was accurate. I'm glad I saw the other comment. I'm glad that I was able to help you guys out for sure. Robin says, I saw some people using a Ouija board with a ghost box. That's interesting. As we go on and more equipment comes and is made available, I mean, it'll be the competition of who's got the most or the best or the most flashing light equipment, so everybody thinks the more the better. I personally, myself, I always keep it simple. I malfunction electronics, so even my laptop, I gotta be careful how much I type while I'm on the show or I'll fritz the show out. But yeah, a lot of people are really into all of the equipment, so I don't know that you need all that, though, to be honest. Let's see. Nikki says, I also have a question for Sean. What was your scariest place that you've been to so far? And hi, Sherman, nice to see you.
I've brought this place up to a lot of people don't know about this place, but my friends Dave Spanks and David Weatherly, they took me to some place in Indiana, and it's called Revenant Acres. And this place has two people that have been possessed there. One of them you can actually watch on YouTube. If you type in Revenant Acres possession, I forget the name of the gentleman that got possessed, but you can see this guy's eyes dilated, and he's speaking in a voice. You hear like two layers in his voice, and his arm starts contorting, and he's like drooling, and he says, I am 7. And it's really creepy. You can tell it doesn't look like it's fabricated. And that was in the back of my mind before going to this place. And, Weatherly had actually been bit on his leg, and you can see full teeth marks on his leg when they went there before they took me. So I'm already thinking in my head, like, all right, so what am I supposed to expect at this place?
Right. And you've already been possessed before. So, oh no, like, do you really want to go to the place?
I've been oppressed, but yeah, no.
Well,
but I mean, yeah, I was like, okay, I mean, what am I supposed to expect in this place? So we get there, and as soon as like I turn on the spirit, well, actually, Dave was using the spirit box. He hands it to me, and I just started, these nasty comments start coming through, and half my body started to go numb. I felt pins and needles on the left side of my body. I'm like, holy crap, this thing is so powerful. That is legitimately trying to get inside me right now. I said, dude, everyone, I was like, I'm going to the kitchen right now, and I'm putting holy water on right freaking now. I'm not messing around. This thing, whatever it is powerful, dude. And I sat there, put holy water on my forehead, and the two of them were putting holy water on their forehead. And there's this small little adjacent room to the side of the kitchen where we were. It's dark in there, and I looked to the right, and dude, you've seen the movie Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
You know that little flash of the face, with the white face with the black eyes and the messed up teeth?
Right.
I shit you not, that's exactly the face that I saw that showed up in the hallway in that small.
What?
And I just was like, what the? And they're like, what? I'm like, dude, I just saw the freakiest face ever. And then they run over to the corner, and they had the Ovilus on, and it said, Holy Devil Minion right after that. And then Dave starts throwing holy water all around the first floor of the house. And he's like, in the name of Jesus Christ, back off. And, he never even realized. But as he was doing this, then the rotting shit smell came out of nowhere. And after he was done throwing the holy water around, he realized his recorder was on. And we're like, holy crap. We listened back to the recording. And as he's throwing the holy water all around, you hear this voice go, it burns. You better pray. Right through the EVP, and didn't even know it was recording.
What?
We're just like, oh my God. So we took a little break, and then like we were investigating more, and then we went upstairs, and we're doing another spirit box session. We got the camera up there, and once again, this thing's trying to get inside me. I feel like numbness, just like, what is going on? I had the spirit box in my hand, and all of a sudden, I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, I revoke your permission to attack me. Back off. And then I shit you not, like it literally felt like a truck hit the entire house and the whole house shook, like literally like this. And we just turned off all of our equipment and we were looking at each other like, did that seriously just happen? And then all of a sudden you just hear these footsteps coming up the stairs. And they're like, da, 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 da. And all of a sudden, like we just hear like this like conniving whispering. And like we in the shit smell started. I'm like, dude, they were like, we gotta go. I was like, because we were like literally poking this thing, like it was so bad. It's like, what's next? One of us gonna get possessed? I mean, I've never even experienced something that was like literally coming at us that strongly. Like it was like, whoa. Yeah, that place is really intense.
Wow. Yeah. Sherman says, I've seen that happen before. A person's body is taken over. They can't speak. And even laughing to the point where I was crying.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, you can watch that video on YouTube. You can see that gentleman. And there was one person that was possessed, but I don't think I got it on camera, but you'll see that it looks legit.
Well, Jaylene's asking, do either of you get scanned by other psychics regularly, like a checkup, to be sure of no hidden attachments?
I mean, I think we all have friends that are like psychically aware. If you're in the paranormal field, there's going to be someone. I always like, even if it was you, Christina, or like a couple of my other friends or psychic, they'll be like, oh, you have this thing around you. Yeah, I mean, I'm always aware. I always ask my friends, like, let me know if you sense anything around me. Like, I do know that I have one really relentless evil spirit that follows me around everywhere. He's not happy with me, and the story's in my book. This man, I believe I crossed over 2 women that he sadistically tortured and murdered, and in this place in Ohio, and he hates me. And he's just like obsessed with me and he just wants revenge so bad. And it's the most relentless spirit I've ever dealt with. He just doesn't give up. And everyone who watches like my Periscope, he comes through like so much. Just did last couple of days ago on Saturday, we were at a Houdini museum that we're investigating, and it just came through and he's just yelling out my name. It's wow. But yeah, that's one of those things, man. Like I said, you step in the way of evil, you're always a target. And it's kind of interesting because I've had these amazing experiences of like trying to help souls cross over and pray for them. And I've had amazing evidence of doing so. Like, I don't want to say definitively that I've crossed over a lot of souls. Do I believe that there's a good chance that I did? Yes. And I've had experience and evidence of it. And obviously, like if these spirits are really pissed off at me and telling me that they're pissed off because I sent people away from them and took them away from them and sent them into the light, then obviously that's a whole nother level I never thought I'd be getting involved with. Like, I mean, yeah, you're helping people that are dealing with activity, but if you're taking like souls away from negative entities that have them trapped in some sort of dark purgatorial evil place, I mean, they're going to be pissed off in a whole new level. It's like, I don't know, it's crazy.
All right, let me head over here real quick and check out these other streams. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment box on the show page. And you can also send them on instant messenger, either on the Twitter or the Google Plus page. All right. All right, Lisa's asking, and this is from Google Plus, have you ever encountered a situation in the paranormal that has scared you so badly it's made you want to quit?
No. I mean, like I said, I've had a few times along the journey where I've felt overwhelmed, where I'm just like, what have I done? But again, being a true spiritual person, I know every little experience that I'm having, God has purposely put that in my individual path for a reason. So I know I have to just, that's where faith comes in. I mean, I can't let any of these evil spirits try to sway me. we all have our moments. We have our dark days, our messed up days where we're kind of lost in the moment of things that can really bring you down. But in the end, as a whole, I won't let that, turn me the other way, away from this, what I'm supposed to do. So again, it really comes down to faith. But yeah, I mean, I've been freaked out by some stuff, but I've experienced so much shit. I'm like, it would have to be really, really, really bad for me to be like, holy crap. Like, I'd have to see some, like, a few items like levitating in my room, be like, oh.
But to be honest, I mean, the thing is like, I always, when people ask me that, the paranormal is my life. So even if I quit investigating, paranormal stuff continues to happen around me daily. So there is no like putting a stop to it. So no. I might as well, try to do what I can to help other people along the way. And that's, pretty much what you do. Nikki is asking a question for both of you. What has gotten you guys interested in the paranormal in the first place?
Well, I just talked about that before. I don't know if you want to talk about yours.
Well, I've always been able to see and hear and communicate with spirits. So, I mean, it's just been kind of what I grew up with. It was nothing new. I just didn't realize that there was a title for, called a paranormal investigator until television came out. And I was like, oh, that's what I can do. Go figure. I think that's why and how a lot of us who have abilities or have grown up with paranormal activity is kind of part of our life. Once we saw it on TV and realized this wasn't actually something that people did, I think it was almost like, oh my gosh, there's other people out there like me. I was like, my first thing is like, oh my gosh, I always thought that I was like the only person, because nobody talked about it back then. Like if you talked about it, you'd be shunned by everybody. They like crazy person. So, it's not like it is now. Like now everybody wants to claim, to have abilities and stuff. So it's a different time for sure. But yeah, that's what kind of got me. I've always been interested. You look like you're setting. I was gonna say you look like you're setting up to do a Periscope live stream there.
Yeah, I also have my laptop. I want to make sure I have my battery for my laptop. The batteries on these laptops don't last.
Oh yeah, we don't want to. Hey Eddie, nice seeing you too.
How's it going with Eddie?
Yeah. Nikki says, I've looked up past photos of myself. We saw an apparition on my right side. So I guess it's been all of my life for me. Again, a lot of people have experiences and they've had experiences since they were a child. Sometimes you don't even realize it until, again, you start becoming more awake and more aware of things going on. And then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, this actually, now looking back on it, it makes sense. These were different signs. These are different things. But going through it, you don't. I have people all the time that say, oh, when I tell them everybody is born with psychic abilities, some type of psychic abilities. And people will say, oh, no, that can't be true. Hold on, guys. I laugh so I say, have you ever walked into a room or have you ever met somebody that you just immediately knew is not a good person? You never know, seen them in your life, but you shake their hand or whatever, or you just get near them and you just know that they're not a good person. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you think that is? Oh, well, that's your gut instinct.
Yeah.
Okay. You call it gut instinct. I call it psychic abilities. What's the difference? You knew that there was something going on with the person. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. Again, it was such a frowned upon topic that, it's just something that was brought up a whole lot in a good
Not the way you just can get on TV. That's why I get a lot of ignorant people that are not really interested in it. They're interested in getting on TV.
Right. And we've seen an explosion of that in our field, unfortunately, and you have made it to the ranks of, television. You were on the pilot series for the Demon Files. So you actually made it there. You know, I mean, you've had
I mean, I never thought that would happen to me. I mean, but hey, I mean, Ralph Sarchi's regarded, well-known demonologist. I mean, he was trained by the Warrens, Father Malachi Martin, and Bishop McKenna. You're talking about pioneers, top of the food chain, people at the beginning of this field. And I was like a kid in a candy store trying to just soak up any information that I could learn from any of these people. Being around them, I just appreciated it. It was definitely a good experience, and it's definitely helped me along the way. Like every single person. Like you, Christina, every single person, we can all learn something from each other. That's why even doing the radio show, when I started doing it with you and then doing it on my own, it was great just bringing people on. We synergistically learn stuff from each other so we can progress as a whole and then help others in the process by comparing stories and experiences.
Absolutely. And I mean, and to be honest, that's the way it should be. That's the way it used to be. Now we've got, too much jealousy, backstabbing. Everybody feels like they've got to take out the person underneath them to crawl above their body and take their spot. When it's so funny that
does that happen
for everybody.
Right. It sounds like you're talking about Hollywood, and it's exactly what we're dealing with because it's the entertainment business. It's not just
absolutely
reality. It's about all that competition and jealousies because they know what could come down the road or what could be an opportunity that comes down their line to get themselves noticed. So then people become possessive. Teams get possessive over locations, and as if they own
that.
And speaking of vortexes, there's your guardians to haunted locations.
There's other teams.
Yeah, I mean, they're possessive and stuff like that because they feel like that one case or that one location that no one else knows about. They're like, well, this is mine, and this is something that we should get noticed for. And that's just how it goes. It's the human.
Yeah, and it's the luck of the draw. And even if, like you say, even if you make it to television, it doesn't mean you're gonna continue to be there. It doesn't mean everybody thinks they're going to get this hit show and they're going to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And again, other than obviously a few actors on television that we know of, most people in this field don't make nothing. It's like we spend more money than we make.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all the conferences, I spent a crap load on like driving and hotel and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but I love being around people that, are into, the same subject that I'm passionate about. I could talk about this for hours and I love every moment of it. So, that's the difference between people that are just in it for different reasons and ulterior motives and actually just being interested in the field and want to learn from everyone.
Yeah. You can tell the difference between a passion, and a hobbyist, and there's nothing wrong with the hobbyist. I mean, we love you guys too. I mean, again, this field of the paranormal, we need all of the investigators and researchers we can out there because the more evidence we bring forward is how we, help to prove the existence of what we already know exists. So, but again, it's kind of like, it's the mentality. It's like, dog eat dog. Like nobody wants to, they'll want to work with you until they figure that, they can get an opportunity, through you and then get rid of you. So unfortunately, just the way it is. So I keep my circles very small.
And you know what it is too? It's like my experience is that you have so many people that literally they'll complain about other people that are jealous and protective and talk crap backstab each other. And then you just watch some of these same people do the same exact thing that they criticize others for. So then you got these
happens all the time.
Worst. I mean, like, how could you sit there and complain about other people doing this stuff in the field and you do it your freaking self?
What I like even better is people are friends for years and years and years, and all they can do is pat each other on the back, and then they have a falling out. And then they just want to go all over social media and say, oh, they're a scammer, they're a liar, they fake evidence, they throw all this stuff out. And I always say, and then they love to come to me because they think like it's going to be my next, show topic. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care about all that, because if that's really that case, then I would want to out you too, because that meant the whole time that you were friends, you knew about all this, but you just chose now to bring it forward. That's not okay. Or you're just making it up because you're mad. So either way, it's ridiculous. And again, in a field of hundreds of thousands of investigators, very little do any actual research anymore. So if somebody just throws something up on the internet, and know it must be true. So you heard it on Facebook now.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, a lot of the evidence you see on the internet, I mean, we get excited. I mean, I'll post something and I'm like, wow, this is mind blowing. But in the end, like, people could be like, oh, it's fake. But for me, I always tell people it's all about the firsthand experience. I'm there. I don't have a
That's right.
We don't have a rational explanation for it. So that experience I get to retain, knowing that it's real. I mean, it's obviously up to the individual when they watch stuff. I mean, I think we have a little bit better idea when we look at certain things, and maybe it could be real, but these days it makes it really tough to be objective.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's hard too, because now what you see on TV, people are manipulating that too. What a lot of people that watch paranormal television don't realize, and investigators should, is that the majority of the cases that you go on, like you might get evidence if you go to good locations, but you're not going to get this, every time you go, you're going to get all this amazing, evidence and video footage and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't work that. You can go and set out a location, all day and all night, which is why I don't do overnight investigations anymore. I'm getting too old for that shit. If they're going to interact with me, they'll interact with me during the daytime, where I've got enough energy to be running around places. I don't want to be tripping and killing myself in the dark on a haunted location. But that might be a good way to go, though, to be true. Hold on. Let's say Gayleen says, I had a ghost recently try to comfort me at the ER at the VA hospital by patting my shoulder and stroking my hair. I was there for nothing serious, but this visit, but it was obviously aware I had been in the worst pain ever my last visit. So I was just said, thanks for being concerned, but please don't follow me home. I just guessed at what to do. What do you think? Oh, I think you did absolutely the right thing. I mean,
you talk about the emotional energy that emanates from a place like that, with all the trauma that people go through with losing loved ones and thinking that people are going to die, and people that do die and stuff like that. I mean, there's just so much energy that is swirling around those types of places forever.
Oh, yeah. And, people they say to me, oh, it must be so cool when you're in the hospital being a psychic. No, it is the worst experience ever.
Yeah.
You are in the hospital because you are sick. And that is like the worst time to, have to be interacting with spirits, because it's very draining. And again, you walk in, they know that you can interact with it. And so immediately they want to come for help. Again, most of us died traumatically or very emotionally there at the hospitals. A lot of that residual energy is still in the air. It is like the worst experience for me. I mean, the doctor laughs at me when he comes and he says, you need to be in the hospital. I'm like, yeah, not yet. Not yet. You're not putting me in there
yet. Yeah, no. Health is
all right. Let's see. Yeah, it's people don't realize how draining. Nikki says, I've looked at past photos of myself. Oh, wait a minute. I already read that one. There was another one. Oh, there said, I walked into a room once and I took a photo. It had some orbs. What are your guys' perspectives with orbs? I tend to get them a lot.
Well, obviously, it's funny because I kind of have this feeling that God created the balls of energy the way it works, and the way we take pictures. It's almost like the perfect camouflage, because people are like, oh, all right, they're all spirits, but then we can debate it. But a lot of them are dust. So, I mean, you can take a flash and it'll create a perfect circle in your picture. So there's certain things that we can do to try to differentiate between a ball of energy that's true and genuine and a piece of dust. Now, in pictures, I've done experiments. There's even a picture in my book. I was in this place called the Sterling Opera House, really amazing haunted place that's in Connecticut. And it was so haunted, I believe ghost hunters wanted to turn it into a school, but the town wanted to renovate the place, and because of history and stuff like that, whatever. Anyway, so I was there. The ceiling would go, I think it's got to be like 100 feet up or something. And there's like 3 floors of seats. I mean, it's really high. And I remember my buddy Phil, I was just like, take a picture, and I put my hand out. And I'm like, if there's any spirits around, can you float your balls of spirit energy right above my hand? He took 3 pictures. The first 2 pictures, nothing. And then right after that, you see 3 perfect spheres floating right above my hand. And it's just like, what are the chances of that? See, now you don't see any dust anywhere else in that picture, in the huge, widespread, wide, view of the stage and all that stuff. And the only places you see those balls of energy are right above my hand. That is something that is spirit energy. For this video I did at my old apartment, because when I first had a ball of energy flying around, when my boss, was another story, he took his life, and I was managing a wine store at the time, and I was into the paranormal. It was just my first year, and here we are. And I felt like someone was watching me in the back, and I took my video out, and this gray blob was flying all over the freaking place. And then the ball of energy flies off, and someone's like, oh, it could be a bug, this and that. So I did an experiment at my old apartment, and the video is on YouTube. I just put my hand out, and I'm just like, if you are a spirit, can you fly your, orb or ball of energy right through my hand? And on command, you see a perfect sphere, gray sphere, fly from left to right, right through my hand. Now, when you do something like that, again, that's when it's a spirit. But that's what we're for on video. So if there's a way that the spirit energy defies gravity, stops in one place, and then backs up, goes upwards, goes downwards, that's what we look for. Because when I go on like this across, I mean, that could be just dust. But
right.
They have a life.
If you see them intelligently reacting to what you're saying, then it's a little bit, will point more towards that it is an energy source opposed to a bug, dust, things like that. I mean, again, you walk in, I see, and I always say this as an example, but I see people that will walk up and they're doing an investigation up in an attic, right? Or up in an old building that's abandoned, they're walking around. Exactly. It kills me every time I see one. I used to get in so much trouble because I couldn't hold, not responding. It would just bug me so much. But you'd get these pictures and there'd be 8 investigators up in this little cramped little old 1920s attic in this house, and they're all taking pictures and they're walking around and doing video and stuff, and they're like, oh my god, look at all of the energy, the spirit energy around us, they love us. I'm like, no, dummies, you're walking around, you've got insulation and dirt, you just kicked it all up. Because even in a location, if it's old and dusty, you have to set up your cameras on the tripods and wait a while, and then start to film and let anything that's in there settle, because you could be surprised at the little things that will catch up and show up as something interesting, and it's nothing whatsoever. Hey, Kimmy says, I've had a spirit hitchhike home with me from the hospital. I was up for 3 days helping my daughter deliver my grandson, and I wasn't aware enough, and he came home with me. Yeah, especially if you're there and you're tired too, and you're not even paying attention. Yep, that's very easy. Thank goodness you know how to get him to go away. Let's see. If a REM pod goes off too at the same time you see an orb, maybe it's something there.
Well, that's what we look for. I mean, even me, I mean, I'm sure like yourself, Christine, I mean, you have abilities. We always look for ways that we can kind of connect and correlate different pieces of scientific equipment with things that we're experiencing ourselves with our spiritual abilities, or that we see on camera. So if a ball of energy flies by and then the EMF goes off at the same time, that's what we look for, because then we can have a closer chance of confirming whether or not it's paranormal or not. So absolutely, 100%. That's why we have all over the place.
Right. Galen says, do you think our cameras are getting better at catching the paranormal and cryptids, or has the veil that is talked about really thinning?
Obviously, our technology is getting further and further, and you have a lot more people coming out with interesting devices for the paranormal field. I mean, look at the things like, I mean, Spirit Box, the SLS camera, and you have people making like other versions of that. In the future, I'm sure that these like stick figures will probably look like emojis and actual faces of people. So,
right.
I mean, it's going to get wild. I mean, yeah, we're always progressing. And yeah, I mean, do I think that the veil's thinning? The more people that are open to the spiritual realm, the more experiences people will have. So there are a lot more people that are open to spirituality. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are messing around with the wrong things. But also there are people that are good, that are getting involved with the right reasons and keeping themselves safe and stuff. But overall, yeah, I mean, I do believe these days a lot more people are open to experiencing these stuff. And because of that, I do believe that the wall does thin. And it's something that I've brought up a lot too, that always interested me when I first investigated. It interests me that a place that you would go into one night that is so active and so crazy, and then the next night, I mean, you're dancing with Teletubbies, like, in church. I mean, there's nothing going on. And it always was like, to me, it's like, there's got to be a reason for that. As someone asked the question about the veil being lifted, I'm like, there has to be a reason why one night is so active and one night is not. And I was researching it online, and I saw that there's a bunch of paranormal researchers that believe, and now I do believe as well, 100%, that the moon is tied to paranormal activity. And you think about water being a conduit to paranormal energy, and the entire planet is mostly water. And you think about water's tied to the moon, the tides, and the tides being pulled in and pushed forward to us. And they say that most paranormal activity occurs on nights 3 days before a new moon or after a new moon or a full moon. And when I was first starting to investigate, I was picking them out on the calendar to see if those were nights where I'd have more activity. And it was right. I was having more stuff happen on those nights. So, it's interesting to see some of the factors that can come into play will actually increase or decrease the activity at locations when it's crazy haunted there, but it just may not be occurring that night. Or if there's a person that's just an energy killer. There could be a person that that's like their X-Men power. They come in there like 5 or 6 people, and it's just like crickets.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got about 30 minutes left in the show. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about how we're going to do our little contest tonight for our listeners. Maybe I'll have you pick a number between 1 and 30. And whoever gets the closest to it, they'll win the autographed book. Let's see what the chat room is saying. Gayleen says, now that really makes sense about the moon. I will keep a log. And I actually do. Kimmy says she agrees 100% with that too. And I seem to agree as well, thinking about it that way too, because I mean, look, and maybe not just even the moon, but just maybe planetary alignments and different things, because we know, like, when we have certain planetary alignments and we go through Mercury retrograde, a lot of people here on Earth are very affected, especially empaths.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that come into play. There's only little things that we can speculate about. Yeah, I mean, 100%. And you think,
Jesus, everybody's popping up their numbers. Okay. Hey, Terry. Hey, Kelly. All right. So for everybody who's just joining in, find a number a number between. You guys have to look at have to pay attention to what people are posting. You guys can't have the same numbers. All right. So number between 1 and 30. And the closest one will win. And so let me send you a message, Sean, in our chat, and you can tell me what the number is going to be.
Okay.
And then the first person to get it correct. Did you see the chat box pop up on your side?
Possibly. Oh, wait, I think so.
If not, I can send it to you on the messenger. Okay, I got it. Got it. Okay. All right. Let me scroll through here, guys. Jeez, everybody's throwing them up. Okay, so far nobody. People are pretty close then. All right. Well, I'm watching until somebody gets the right one. Ethan, you can't choose all the numbers. He's like 19, 20. Like, let me just keep throwing a whole bunch up until I get the right one. All right, we gotta give people a chance, but pretty good choices. All right, I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Ken says probably have something to do with electromagnetics, things like frequency. Yeah, I definitely think you're correct, Ken, and that's exactly what Sean was talking about. Pat says working with the mentally disabled, you know when there's going to be a full moon. Well, I mean, and again, there's another example, Sean, somebody who works with children.
I actually could tell you a story too. So I work in an office building, and on the bottom floor, they have mentally challenged kids and people. And I'll never forget this. I was at a haunted asylum. I believe I was at St. Albans Sanitarium. And I came back and I had lunch with like 6 or 7 of my coworkers. And we're sitting at the table, and this one kid comes in. He must have been like 25, sitting like 30 feet away, walks in with like a chaperone, and the kid starts going, he sits down, he's going like this, sit on my lap, sit on my lap, sit on my lap, over and over again. And, I was sitting there eating my lunch, and I was just like, I wonder, just like, these kids that are mentally, challenged, like, are they spiritually sensitive? Do they pick up on stuff? Like, imagine if like a spirit just told this guy, and he said my name out loud. So I'm sitting there thinking this in my head. So like 30 seconds go by, I'm eating my sandwich. And then like 30 feet behind me, this kid, all of a sudden I hear, Sean, over and over again. And my coworkers like look back and they're like, dude, is he calling your name? And I'm just like, you have to be freaking kidding me. Over and over again, Sean, over and over again, dude. And like this, finally, like my one of my coworkers, she's like, we can't be friends anymore. So this kid's just going on.
You're a nice guy, Sean, but
yeah. And then all of a sudden, the chaperone guy goes to this kid. He's like, "You got to stop!" But he goes, "But that's Sean over there." And he escorted this kid out of lunch. My coworkers were freaked out for weeks after that. But
oh my god, that's too
maybe funny. Think of that story. That was just really, that was like a movie moment right there.
Absolutely. Alan, hey, nice to see you, Alan. Alan says, we all have our own frequency that is mostly connected by a higher frequency. Sometimes it can cause us to have visions and spiritual connections. Oh my God. Phone is just going crazy here. Yeah, I definitely agree. Let's see. All right, well, you guys are awfully close, so I'm going to give you a few more minutes. Pick a number between 1 and 30. Nobody has got it right yet, although there's been a lot of multiple. You guys like a lot of the same numbers because I got a lot of the same multiple number coming up multiple times, but nobody has got it yet. So we're going to, this is for a free copy of Sean's book. You don't want to miss that one. It is called Shadow Chaser, and you can get it at Amazon. If you're not the lucky winner tonight, and you can check in the promo at the bottom of the promo. The link for his book is there. I will also, let me pull it up, and I will put it in there. I saw a lot of people somebody said that they put it on their wish list. Another person was saying they definitely wanted to get that. So hold on. Boy, you guys are getting close. Yes, Jackie, you can pick a second one because some people have like thrown out like 8 numbers. So until you guys get it right, throw them out. Go ahead. Go.
Can we just give a hint?
Toss them out there. Well, no, because like everybody's like all around it. So it's like they've like done every number before and after it except for that number. So
oh my gosh. I chose that number.
I know, huh?
Reason.
Is there a reason behind it? Oh yeah, we definitely gotta.
Well, I'll leave a hint. Someone famous died at that age.
Okay, is a well-known musician?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Christopher says, I say 18, Christina, and I say sorry, that's not it. Keep on trying though. Somebody's 30. A lot of people are picking number 3. Come on, guys. 25, 27. Oh, ding, 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 ding. Alan, you have won. I scrolled right on past it. So Alan got it. The number was 27. All right, Alan, you want to send me your information, and Sean will send you an autographed copy of his book. But the only stipulation is that you have to send me and Sean a message afterwards. Let us know what you think of the book and give it a good review. All right, tell all your friends about it. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you playing tonight. You guys are a lot of fun. I have to say, no, the other Alan, sorry, not Alan Wallace. I'm sorry. Alan's like, oh, there's another Alan. Is it me? Is it me?
Mm.
All right, so we get it all. It's Alan Kreska. I hope I said that correctly. If I didn't, it's my bad. But all right, so Alan, like I said,
musicians that died at that age. It was Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and is it Jimi Hendrix too that died at 27?
Oh wow, that must be like a special death day or something. Gayleen says, I have a Facebook friend who has a mentally disabled 18-year-old stepson who a Sasquatch will reveal itself to and mentally connect with when the young man visits his home. You know, I always find those kinds of stories very, very interesting. With a lot of the mentally handicapped children, I will tell you, they are super gifted. So and we also know with Bigfoot, we've never had any proof that one has actually been, proven to even exist, even though we've got a lot of evidence that points towards that we do. So I definitely think that I've heard stories from not only the disabled children, but their parents of their children connecting with Bigfoot. It's like when they've been out at cabins or different things, also with aliens as well as spirits. So I definitely think that there's definitely a possibility of that for sure, at least in my opinion. Hey, Sean, did you see, or everybody in the chat room, you can, comment as well. But did you see there's a guy who's on my Facebook, and I have to find him. I wish I would have saved the page. But his dad, I guess, had killed or claims his dad killed a Bigfoot as well as some juvenile Bigfoot and cut them up and froze one of them. There was this whole story. And I ran across the other day where the son now was doing a live stream video from some cavern that he said that was 40 miles underground in the middle of the desert somewhere in a bunker that his dad built. And that's why they couldn't find the Bigfoot. And he was showing it on camera. Now, I I don't know if I'm the only one that catches stuff like this, but I'm thinking, okay, dude, even if you're in a bunker somewhere in the middle of the desert, underground, right, hiding this Bigfoot specimen all these years, if you can live stream on Facebook from that place, the government can probably find your ass. So it's not going to be.
He's in his mom's basement that has like fake rocks around the room. That's what he did.
I was like literally watching this, and I'm like, come on, dude, you're on Facebook Live. Like, I don't know any underground bunkers other than like if maybe you're part of the, secret underground bunker system or something that you would be able to get Wi-Fi, or service down 40 feet under the ground. But, hey, he tried. But he was showing this thing, and he was trying to say, oh, it smells and all these different things.
Yeah, I smell something too. It's called bullshit.
Bullshit. Yeah, I know. I to comment throughout it, and I was like, had to leave. I had an appointment. I had to leave out of the house, but I was like, oh, I'm going to save this and I'm going to comment later, and then I couldn't find it again. But I swear I'm going to like go through my feed again, because I don't know like if I want to like bring the guy on the show, or I just want to. You
feel like having a comedy night.
I know. Well, that's, I like to have comedy exposing shows every once in a while. What can I say? Alan says, at the age of 4, let's see, I gotta scroll down a little bit more. At the age of 4, I had a visit of my future son telling me that he can't stay long. He was like my best friend in spirit. December 14th, my son was born, 1976. An hour and 40 minutes later, on December 15th, he passed from complications. Even to this day, I communicate with my friends and family that have passed. Oh, what an amazing, what a horrible story, but what an amazing thing. I so wish that I could connect with my own family and loved ones. That's the only downside I have to say of my abilities, is that I can connect and help everybody else, but I can't myself, so I can't connect with my own.
That's because spiritual, we're supposed to be helping others with it. But I have to say that I actually had both of my old dogs come visit me before, actually.
Interesting. Yeah. That's strange. I have had people too that are very, very connected with their animals say that, just like a loved one, that, when they went, that the spirit of the animal came and like that final goodbye or something. So, why wouldn't it, right?
Yeah, I've had a couple experiences with my grandparents too, that I actually practiced read on my mother and my father, and I got information that I couldn't have known. But yeah, I guess I'm still outwardly helping someone, giving them a message, so it's not really for me per se. Yeah, that's probably why. That's why psychics can't predict the lottery numbers, because that's ego. That's materialistic.
Right. I know people, when people either ask me for the lottery numbers, if their boyfriends are cheating, and what is the other one? If I can find their lost car keys.
Oh, geez.
I can't even find my own damn car keys. If I could know the lottery numbers, I'm surely not going to give them to everybody else. I would go and cash in for those millions and live off of that. Sorry, I'm just, I'm just real like that. And yeah, so go figure on that one. Let's see. Maggie says, my dead husband comes back to me too damn much. Oh, okay. Sorry, Maggie. Kimmy says, I had missed his death, and I got a phone call afterwards, and I went directly to their house because I couldn't go to the hospital. And I remember everybody was crying in the living room and in the kitchen. and I just couldn't even be around all that energy. And I went and I like quietly went back into my grandfather's room, and I went in the room, closed the door, and I laid down on his bed just so that I could try to feel close to him. And I somehow fell asleep amidst all of this. And next thing I know, I literally like woke up, my eyes open, and my hand lifted up on its own. And as it lifted up into the air, I was like watching, like, why in the world is my hand going up? And then right in front of me, my grandfather appeared, and he put his hand out and literally touched mine. And it was so cold that it scared me. And I like pulled back, and I jumped up and screamed and flipped on the light, and that was it. That's all. So now I wouldn't have been scared, but I mean, it was nice that I at least got one. Nikki says, I had a dream visitation for my great grandmother once. I think that some people do get those. And I mean, for me, it was amazing that I was able to get that, even if I haven't had it with anybody else. It was nice that I did get that.
So key for getting messages from your loved ones.
Yeah. Yes.
The easiest to get information telepathically from spirits when your subconscious is awake, and that's your connection to the spiritual realm when your rational mind is fully asleep. So, I mean, if you want a message from your loved one, I always tell people to ask for it before you go to sleep. And, you know, when you're sleeping, it's like when you're drunk. You remember it while it's happening. We don't remember after it's happening. So if you wake up and you remember, right, write it down. So because you wake up, you might forget about it.
Exactly. Okay, so maybe if you can remote view, I can do that sometimes. I can remote view. I've done it multiple times. In fact, Alan Wallace, he's has a group out in Arkansas, and when he has cases, I work on his cases and consult, and I do remote viewing of his location. So it's interesting as well. All right, we've got about 15 minutes left, Sean. So for anybody else who wants the book but didn't get the opportunity to be the lucky winner tonight, if they want to go and buy one, where can they purchase one at?
You can get it on Amazon, and if you want a signed book, you just go to SeanDAustin.com. I can only mail out books in the U.S. because shipping is like 4 times the cost of the book, which is...
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. So that's why I just tell people get it off Amazon if you live outside the U.S. So, yeah. But yeah, Sean D. Austin, or just look up Shadow Chaser. My name's Sean Austin on Amazon.
All right. And so what do you have coming up? I know you got...
I'm working on it.
Pretty soon it'll be defrosted from over there in New York, and you can actually get out and do something without turning into a popsicle.
Oh, gosh. I'm not a fan. I'm working on my second book, actually. I'm hoping to get that done in the coming months.
Nice.
I'm also obviously a musician, and I plan to go back to Nashville and record some new tunes to release this summer. And yeah, it's something else you can listen to. My last EP I released last year, a year ago. It's called Shapeshifter, and that EP is those songs are involved with the stories from the book, so they go hand in hand. They both have the same cover. So if you want to look up that and take a listen to some of that as well. But
Jackie just said she just ordered it on Amazon. So nice. Thanks. Absolutely. Jackie, you'll love it. Nikki says, thanks, guys. Great show. Thank you for joining us, Nikki. And you sound like you've had a lot of really interesting experience they've been going through. So do you have any investigations set up for this spring and summer?
We have a residential to do in Connecticut. Not this weekend, next weekend. That Houdini place was really interesting a couple of nights ago. They got a bunch of original items that Houdini used in some of his, tricks, and really crazy relevant responses there. Turn on the spirit box, the first word that popped up said Houdini. I was like, yeah, wow. Now the place is haunted. But there's places that I really want to go to that are on my paranormal bucket list that I do plan to go to. I always wanted to go to the Villisca Murder House and the Sally House, and I wanted to maybe do that in one trip because they're close and nearby to each other. And I'm thinking about planning that possibly in the next month or so. a couple months.
Well, you got to come out to Northern California. I still got lots of great locations out here to show you. You'll be happy.
Oh, and it's warm.
Yeah, it's always warm. Well, not so warm right now. We're having floods and torrential rains and all kinds of crazy weather out here. But hey, it is what it is. For everybody, make sure to keep an eye on the show page tomorrow. I will have the guys from Haunted Rouse. They're going to be out here. We are going to be going up to a haunted winery here in the Napa Valley. I'm going to be doing some filming for their upcoming documentary that yours truly will be part of. We were supposed to head up to Virginia City, Nevada on Wednesday, but unfortunately we're in the middle of this crazy storm, and they're saying that all of the roads going up there are going to be closed with 80-mile-an-hour winds. So we might not be going there, but keep an eye out because you never know where we might pop up. We're going to be filming for the documentary. They also, in November, we will be in Las Vegas for the Paraculticon, and so it's going to be the Shockfest Film Festival along with the Paranormal field this year. They're going to have premieres of different horror shows. They're going to be having they have the whole hotel, which is a haunted hotel in Las Vegas. We've got the whole place to ourselves, along with haunted rooms, a chapel, secret rooms in the facility. It's amazing. These speakers, this is going to be different than any paranormal convention that you've seen, or even really any horror convention that you've seen. We're going to have a mixture of both. The speakers will not be the people that you're used to seeing in every single Paracon. These are going to be everyday investigators. If you have some amazing footage that you have obtained with yourself or your team, keep an eye on the show page. Tomorrow we'll be announcing where you can submit it. And if your submission is chosen as some of the best evidence, you will be invited to be a speaker there. The documentary is going to be debuting there, and I will tell you there's some amazing locations that are going to be on this documentary. So again, November 22nd through the 24th, Las Vegas. You can look at under the Shockfest Film Festival, I believe. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's.
Sounds like
yeah, I know. I was trying to think if they had something else, but I know that there's two websites, but they both go to the same one. So yeah, you can go to the Shockfest Horror Festival. It's going to be in Las Vegas this year. They've been doing it 10 years in Hollywood, sold out every year. Again, going to be amazing. Escape rooms, paranormal investigating, workshops, speakers, you name it, they're going to have it there. So you definitely want to check it out and get your tickets. They are available. With that being said, I will see all of you on Thursday if you're going to stick around for the Top Secret News radio show. We're going to be doing top trending news. I've been sick and having all kinds of problems with the platform here that I'm using on BeLive TV. So again, we're going to go ahead and I'm checking into a few other platforms. But I will be here Thursday, and make sure to join me next Monday on Paranormal Connections. You have been listening to Paranormal Connections radio show on the UPRN Top Radio Network. 107.7 out of New Orleans. Have a great week. I'll see you all soon. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much again, Sean, for joining us tonight.
No problem at all.
All right.